I'll be reading from a short story I wrote last summer. It's the final section of the story. The story's called Will Heaven Fall Upon Us? When I took the stones from my eyes this morning, I saw the sky above, a hard crystal blue, endless, overwhelming. Around me, the school had disappeared, and with it my bedding, the shelves containing our belongings, even my yellow shirt. In the distance, I saw my mother approach. She walked slowly, placing her feet carefully on the uneven rubble. When she reached me, she spoke to me for the first time since I had died. "Come," she said, and I stood up, placing my stones in my pocket and a sheet around my shoulders. We walked through empty, grey streets, and after a while, other mothers joined us, all of them wearing long black robes, all of them silent. The sky went on forever, and instead of the barbers, butchers, libraries, and hospitals, we saw tall, triangular structures, collapsed mountains of concrete. The world had become shattered, grey, alien, like the moon. Where was everyone? Where were the houses and where were the shops? Where was my father and where were my sisters? Above us, the sky was flat and unreal. It stretched around us. It pushed us into the ground. Would it fall upon us? After a while, one of the mothers whispered that she was looking for water. An empty plastic container she held hit her right leg with every step she took forward. She looked tired. Her skin was stretched tightly over her face. She said she didn't know where to look. I reached into my pocket and handed her a stone. She put it in her mouth and sucked on it gently. Then she swallowed it. Another mother then began to speak. She said she was looking for her sister's house, but the roads had disappeared and she didn't know which way to turn. There were low murmurs of agreement then amongst the women. It was hard to know where to go, they said. My mother then spoke. "I think it's this way," she said, and though they were all looking for something different, they nodded. Yes, you're right, it's this way. I remember now," they said. My mother's body had become small, her face drooped, and something black oozed out the side of her mouth. She wiped it with the back of her hand. We were picking our way through the rubble of homes, through the terrifyingly broad expanse of what were once narrow alleyways, and I was going to ask my mother where we were going when we heard the dogs barking. The dogs were hungry and their hunger made them mad, so we began to run. One of the mothers tripped and fell. I took my last stone from my pocket and pelted the dog on her chest. I got it in the eye. It whimpered, it cried. The other dogs began to cry too. They hung back. They began to lick one another. Then they disappeared. We stopped for a moment to catch our breath. Ahead of us was a burnt car, and balanced on its boot was a large wooden container. I ran towards it and climbed inside. The mothers gathered around me, two on either side, and lifted me into the air, and they carried me, slowly, with panting breaths, towards the cemetery. I could see its black iron gates curving into the sky, hanging from two white pillars, like the bodies of the dead. "We're nearly there, just wait," my mother said, as the coffin began to shake. Soldiers had appeared around us, and they beat my mother's legs. My coffin wobbled, then plunged sharply from side to side. The soldiers hit my mother's arms and back. My mother's and the other mothers cried. My body crashed against the wooden sides of my coffin. The sky span. It pressed down on me. My body bounced. My head cracked against its wooden boards. When we passed through the gates of the cemetery, the mothers stopped. They put me down. I sat up and looked around. The cemetery gates stretched into the sky, but around me I saw only sand and earth. I asked, "Mother, where are the gravestones and where is my grave?" She shook her head. She did not know. "Mother," I asked, "where was the city and where were the people? Where was my father and where were my sisters?" Instead of answering me, my mother turned away. She lay down. She flattened herself on the floor. Where was the school and where were the teachers? I looked around me and I was alone. Where was my mother and where were the other mothers? Where did they go? Where were the dogs and where were the soldiers? Where were the birds and where was the sky? Where was the world? Thank you.